Hey there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at Conversations with Coaches. I am so excited about today. I have Lisa Reed on the call with me. And we are going to talk about getting booked and staying booked as a speaker. Yes, even now with all of the insanity that's going on with COVID. So speaking of which, if you're watching in the future, we are recording this in the summer of 2020, which means we're in the midst of the COVID open, close, shutdown, everything's open kind of craziness that's going on. But Lisa has some great tips and information about how to stay booked as a speaker right now. Lisa, introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Hey everybody, I'm Lisa Reed, founder of Get Speaking Gigs Now and OC Speakers Network for any of you in California, although now it's open to everybody. So OC Speakers Network and beyond. Author of Get Speaking Gigs Now. And I love helping speakers or dreaming of being a speaker, dreamers of being a speaker, get booked, stay booked, and attract their clients through speaking. So that could mean let's figure out how to get your talk ready to rock. Let's get your strategy taken care of. All these things. We're going to go into a few of these things today. But I think you said tell you 3 things, and I don't remember if I told you. So proof positive. You could be ADD and a speaker.
So let's start with this. For those business owners that have been thinking about speaking,
yeah,
why do they want to get on a stage? Why do they want to be a speaker?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing, Jennifer. I am not into elbow twisting, right? Like, if you are terrified of speaking, you could just like pause. Like, you don't need to keep listening. If you're like, I would never. I'd rather, take a bullet or whatever. Don't worry. I'm not going to try to convert you. But what I do think is that there's a lot of people out there who are like, I see some people out there speaking and I think I'm smarter than they are. I've got a lot to offer. What's holding me back from doing that? If that's occurred to you, then we definitely should talk. And why it's such a great idea to speak is because, well, right now, there's so many options with speaking and how to build your business. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. If you're at a networking event, wouldn't you want all the eyes on you for some more time, or do you just want that little 30 seconds that they give you? Like, I think most people would say, more time, please. And that way you're able to serve the audience, you're able to shine, share a little bit about what you do. And if that solves a problem for somebody in the audience, then it's a win-win. Like, they're coming to you going, hey, you can solve my problem. I liked your style. I liked what you offer. Can I learn more? It's a great way to build your business.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree, especially now with the options that are out there and the ability to reach a wider audience. So when you're working with someone, who's your ideal client? Like, who do you love to work with most?
I usually attract very heart-centered people. Typically, I mean, yes, there's a lot of speakers out there. There's some people who are, just like see the dollar signs and they're like, that's what I want. Usually I attract people who are very passionate about what they do and how they can help other people. And the more people that they can help, the bigger impact they're going to be able to make. So it's that growth opportunity where you're like, maybe you're working one-on-one with people and you're realizing, or selling one-to-one, and you're realizing there's only so much impact I can make because there's only so many hours in the day. But if you're really looking to maximize that impact, because in your heart, that you have more people to help, those are usually the people I work with. And I'll give you some examples, like typically life coaches, typically business coaches, somewhere in the counseling or I've a couple of clients who've been therapists before, and like grief counselor. It's kind of interesting. It sort of goes all over the map. Also, people offering legal services, like how do you save all this money and things you didn't know about, and how I can really help you, guide you through that. I've had medical doctors too, who maybe have their own clinic, who are just trying to figure out how this whole thing works. And they've got this load of knowledge, but they don't know how to sell. They don't know how to sell from stage. They don't know how to communicate their knowledge in a way that's bite-sized for people.
Yeah.
Those are a few examples.
So how does speaking, being on a stage and learning to sell from a stage really help grow their business? Obviously, it gets them in front of more people, so they're able to get their message out to more people. But how
Right.
does it correlate to growing their business?
Right. Well, if you don't have clients, you don't have business, right?
Is that accurate?
Sorry, not sorry, but that's kind of the way it goes. And when you're speaking, if you're doing it strategically, you're leading people to some type of call to action. And what I see a mistake that people do make is they assume that just because I'm speaking, I'm going to build my business and attract clients. That unfortunately is not true. There needs to be a strategy behind it, as well as serving. I mean, included in that strategy is serving the audience and making sure you're not just like rah, 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 selling.
Right.
You
Yeah.
need to provide value. And I call it, I use the Thanksgiving dinner analogy. I love Thanksgiving. We're in summer. Can't wait for Thanksgiving. But at Thanksgiving, you're so full, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I ate so much, and you're not ready for dessert till a few hours later. Um, I tell people, do not Thanksgiving dinner your audience. You got to give them a little appetizer so that they're ready for the next meal. You know, the next, they're like, oh, I want more. And there's a fine line with that. Usually you have like a half hour to an hour to talk. So you're not going to give decades of information in a half an hour. You got to
That's
give it
so true.
just enough to, you know, have them
Yeah,
come and,
I
and
think
chat
people
with you.
often mistake, it doesn't matter if you're speaking from a stage or you're doing your Facebook Live or any other type of marketing. Oftentimes you give them all of the information and you're right, they feel full. They don't need that next step.
Right.
So for those speakers out there who are thinking about speaking or wanting to start speaking, how do they go about actually getting booked for speaking engagements?
Yeah, that is a great question. And that's usually the question that I'll get, like, so tell me, how do I get booked? And I'm like, well, it's a little bit more than just that.
Yes.
And that's what I talk about. Like I have a master class I lead on, attract your clients through speaking. I also have an academy where we go through those steps, and there's all these really great great information for that. But if you're like, yeah, but what's my first step? Okay, so your first step would just be like, who do you think you're going to be serving? Like what audience would be a good audience for you? Like one of my clients works with moms. Okay, so maybe if she spoke at real estate offices, that might not really be a fit. Not that there's not moms who are realtors, but like now if she made her talk like, moms in real estate, that might be a fit. So you have to start to figure out and strategize, where are your people? Then you start to come up with like, okay, what's my talk going to be about? How can I serve them? How does that lead them to working with me, and creating a monetization menu and all this stuff. So we start to monetize it and all those kind of things. There's like a lot of steps, but the first step would be figuring out where you're gonna
Yeah, that target audience, I think, is often where people get lost, right? It doesn't matter what type of marketing you're doing, right? Whether you're speaking or you're doing social media, or understanding who you're talking to and where you're going to connect best with them is so incredibly important. So yeah, that's such a good tip.
And that's like what you specialize in, like really getting them honed into the marketing message of what they're going to be talking about. So same thing with like when I help people get their talk ready to rock, it's like, you're not going to come out of left field. Like it's got to be in line with your branding, your marketing that you've done, that you've gotten set up, your website, your message, your service. Like it's not like this random weird thing. It's all got to line up.
Right.
Or, unless you're creating something brand new, that's different, but
Which is always an option for people to create
totally.
something brand new.
Yeah. It is.
And
And that sometimes happens where they're like,
and
I'm
it should
actually,
still align with your brand. Unless you're completing a new brand, it should still align with your brand and who it is you serve.
yeah.
So yeah, so You had talked about Get Speaking Now, Gigs Now Academy a little bit ago. So tell me a little bit about it and kind of, what kind of outcomes your clients get from attending.
Well, what I love getting, and I don't know if you get that, you probably get this too, Jennifer, where you're like, you get these really cool texts at like 10 o'clock at night, or like, oh my gosh, my book just got published, or oh my gosh, I just got booked at this dream gig that I've had on my bucket list, or oh my gosh, I just got asked to speak. What do I do now? Sometimes I get that one. I'm like, perfect. This is it. This is the big time. This is the show. You're here. And then this is all the stuff that you've been preparing for. So sometimes they're shocked, like, oh, wait, like it's happening. It's like, they're asking me for a headshot. What? And I'm like, send them your headshot. It's going to be okay. Just send it on over. So it's kind of exciting to hear. And it's funny because people think, oh, I had this experience the other day where someone was like, well, I'm going to get my talk ready so that I can start to work with you. I'm like, no. That's like saying you're going to pull your tooth out and then go to the dentist. Like, why are you doing that by yourself? Like, come on, we can do it. Come here. Let me help you. I've been doing this 500 times. Like, it's going to be okay. And so,
absolutely. I hear
yeah.
Yeah. So many, I think that's something that those that are out there that are wanting to speak really could use, like, just understanding that there's somebody out there that can hold your hand through that talk. They can help you move through it, so that it doesn't need to feel overwhelming. There are
and I have to say, like, when I first started becoming a professional speaker, I was 40, and I know I look a lot younger than that. I know, but but anyway, the other reality is I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in speech communication. I even taught 2 years interpersonal communication at Cal State Fullerton when I was 22 years old. So you think like, okay, she could do this. I have 20 something years of sales. Well, now 30, whatever, probably more than that, but years of sales experience, right? So you're thinking she could sell from stage. Why would she need a coach? She should be fine. No, you're not born knowing how to sell from stage. It takes some strategy, some learning, some practice, and the willingness to fail forward. But if I hadn't had a coach teach me how to do that and walk me through, this is someone who had done it hundreds of times, I would have been lost. I mean, it really shortcutted, whatever.
Shortcut. Yeah.
Shortcut. There we go. It shortcutted my growth and increased my sales a lot quicker than if I had just been doing it by myself. I probably would have quit if I was doing it on my own, even with all that experience. So like, if you don't have any of, most people don't have degrees in speech communication. You don't need them, but why make it harder for yourself? Yeah. Like, just like, I'm not going to do an oil change on my own car. I don't do my own books. I don't, I'm not a bookkeeper, I don't do my own taxes.
Finding that specialist that can hold your hand, no matter what your business is, whether, you're looking for speaking or you're looking for a bookkeeper or whatever, there are parts of your business that you're not an expert at. And finding that person that is an expert really helps to accelerate your business.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, what is the number one secret to getting booked and staying booked as a speaker, even in the insanity that we have going on?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I hope everyone's buckled in for this one, because let me tell you what. So this secret is something I've been doing for years, and I call it my speaker soulmate system. And it's really, and now more than ever, this is paying off triplicate, quadruple, whatever, times 10, a million, right? So it's really finding another speaker who you can align with and think of like they're your strategic partner. You don't need a million, you need 1. 3 maybe at the most, because it's a more, you're dedicating your time and energy to that relationship. But when you have that right fit, and this is something I teach, and a lot of times it comes out of the academy because people end up like partnering up with each other, you can exponentially grow your referrals. And I call the red carpet just gets rolled right out for you. All of a sudden you get like an instant booking, you get an instant, like it's a yes. You don't have to sell yourself. It takes out the cold calling out of it, which people are usually not wanting to do.
Right.
They just want to speak. And so like I just had a presentation, a speaking engagement this morning at 7 in the morning in another state. I'm in California. It was in another state. And that was due to a partner that I work with who lives out of state. And we're like, let's really not let, this pandemic stop business, but how can it increase business?
Mm-hmm.
How can we take, and that's why I say, yes, even now, more than ever, you can do this. Do not wait until like things get back to normal, quote unquote. I don't think they're ever really going to be back the way it was before. We're going to still see a lot of virtual events. People are saving tons of money by not traveling and time. And yes, we all want to get back in person, of course, but I think it's going to be different. And I think it's best to prepare yourself for that.
I agree with you. I think looking at I think people have recognized that the virtual world is something they can tap into. So they can create
Yeah.
more events in, instead of having those huge 1,000 people events, maybe they have a couple of 250 over the year and are able to serve better. So I totally agree with you that really understanding that there's an opportunity right now. And if you wait, you miss the opportunity.
Yeah, there's a lot of people not waiting. And that's it's like, you don't need to, if you're using that as an excuse, and it is an excuse, stop it. Because
I couldn't agree.
you heard it here first. Stop it. And let's work through the fear, let's work through that self-doubt so that you can get your message heard and make an impact. That's what people are here. People need what you have. They need what you have, but they don't know what you have, because you don't have your marketing or you're not speaking and sharing it, then not a whole lot's going to change.
Yeah. If they don't know you exist, that's the first thing people need to know, is that you exist. And speaking is a fantastic way to get your story out there. So
That's
people,
right.
not only do you get to change lives, but you get to get your story and your information and grow your business that way.
100%.
So thank you so much for joining us today. And for those people that are interested in, connecting with you, how do they best go about doing that?
Really the best way, if you go to my website, getspeakinggigsnow.com, that's gigs with an S. You can get a free gift, the 5 top tips to get more speaking gigs. You're welcome to that. Also, if you're like, you know what? I was waiting for a sign. I think this is it. And you'd like to talk with me directly, you can also go to that same site. There's a link on there to set up a call with me, or you can go to getspeakinggigsnow.com/chat, and that will also take you there. And I'd love to hear your speaking journey, where you are, where you want to be. And if I can help you get to where you want to be, I will let you know. If I can't, I'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll figure it out.
Awesome. I will have all of those links and such in the show notes below so that you are able to connect with Lisa at any point. Thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you everyone for joining us on Conversations with Coaches. We will talk to you soon.